What's up, everyone, and welcome on into One Nation, brought to you by Tony Bett. It's been about a month since Trills and Wills have been on this show. We've been busy, though, covering the Women's World Cup, still keeping an eye on that. But we had our show with Jess Lisi.
And Riley Foster.
And Riley Foster. Fun times. Not so fun that Canada's out.
Yeah.
I know. We'll get a little bit more into it because the World Cup does go on. So we'll touch on that. We have a special guest in Tommy Wheeldon Jr. joining us today, my friend.
Come on, Tommy.
We have some CanPL news in particular when it has to do with York United. I wouldn't say it's the best of news. Okay, can we talk about a story here that at least had me a wee bit shocked?
A wee bit
shocked. And you know that I will defend goalkeepers. Like, honestly, there could be a dead body, goalkeeper standing over the body with a smoking gun, and I'll say they didn't do it. And
Love the keepers.
They didn't do it. But this one kind of, was a little bit, right? So let's go back to Leagues Cup. It was Vancouver Whitecaps taking on Tigres. The game goes to a penalty shootout. Vancouver needed to win in order to advance in the competition. And then the goalkeeper, Nahuel Guzman, starts to pull off some antics. So take a look at some of these antics. Like he's a mime. I wish I could see you look on your face. He's a mime. There's another one where he pretends he's ill and then coughs up a streamer.
Confetti or whatever it is.
What is that? I don't know.
It's
a very long string, should not have been in his abdomen to begin with, or tucked away in his cheek, wherever it was. This is to throw off the kicker. How are you feeling if you were to see that? What are you doing?
So the one that he saves, Guzman, is against Veselinovic. I'll tell you if I'm Veselinovic what I'm doing if you start miming. I'm putting the ball down. For the people that are new to football, you're 12 yards away for a PK. I'm putting the ball down. I am stepping back 12 yards. Normally I do about 6. And that's even far for some players.
You want to run up.
I am like Sonic running. Sonic running, Trills, I am lacing that bad boy straight for his head. I'm not lacing that. I don't care if it goes off his ear and in, off his tooth. You're not gonna mime and do all this. No.
What are you doing?
I am striking that. And it ended up working, and that's what I hated. Veselinovic should have wrapped his foot around that. Yeah. That's for Jimmy Brennan right there. Wrapped it, whatever you need to do. You got to score that one.
I had to think about this because it's not that goalkeepers don't have tactics. It's not like even the shooter doesn't have a tactic. Like, we know the goalkeepers sometimes they'll do trash talking. They walk up to the kicker. They hold on to the ball. They scuff up the ground. We know that they do stuff. And some people might say, well, what's the difference? A distraction is a distraction. To me, though, I would say perception matters. Like, there's a distraction in kind of a professional way, and then there's a clown show. Literally, miming is a subsection of clowns. I'm sorry to mimes out there who maybe don't think they're clowns, but that's what that is. Like, this is, I don't know. To me, it's making just a mockery of the whole thing. I don't like it. The first thing I could ever think about, by the way, any kind of parallel, like if you were to change this up, in hockey, if people remember Sean Avery, you can screen a goalie in hockey, but your back is to the goalie, right? So you're facing the play and you're screening the goalie, and that is legal. But he turned around, faced the goalie, and was like up in his face. And the NHL just went, listen, we know that screening is legal, but that was just making a mockery of the rule, and now the integrity of the game was compromised, right? So they created the rule that if you're gonna do that, your back has to be to him, you can't be facing him. That to me is what this is. It's the integrity of the game that you still have to uphold.
Agree with you. And there's levels.
Yeah.
There are levels, okay? And this is out of pocket. This is far too much. And again, I'm sad that it didn't get wrapped in straight down the middle, right
between the eyes.
One of those, man. Shooting just to make sure you put some power behind that.
Anyways, absolutely crazy. We had to show that because I had never seen anything. I didn't think it was real. And then I hate that it happened against a Canadian club, too. All right, let's get to the Women's World Cup. As I said, it goes on, even though the Canadian women eliminated in the group stage. Shocker. The favorite, the United States, eliminated in the round of 16, taking on Sweden. They had a 4-1-1 record against Sweden at the World Cup. It was in their favor, although Sweden, this is a strong team, as we know, highly competitive as well, even at the Olympic level. In fact, that's who Canada beat for the gold. So this is a team that knows how to go all the way. But the Americans dominated that game. Jordo, you have to give the goalkeeper credit as well for Sweden. That one goes to a penalty kick. Millimeters? like blink
like a
of
hairline.
Yes, like that's how the final penalty kick that beats USA and sends Sweden on. But what did you make of just the favorites crashing out? Because a lot of people thought that they were going to do something we've never seen before, which is win 3 straight World Cups.
Well, first I want to just give myself a pat on the back because someone called this. I literally said on our show, I said that the U.S. are going to lose to Sweden. Jess Lisi looked at me like, you're crazy. You didn't even acknowledge me. So that means you thought that was preposterous.
Yeah, I think I just ignored you.
But I felt it. I also did say Germany was going to win the World Cup.
Yeah, where they at?
So I'm 50-50. That's fine. I'll take it. No, the U.S., you're thinking that they're doing a three-peat, that they're going to go on and at least get to a semifinal, final appearance. To lose to Sweden the way that they did, this is the thing with football as well. It's just about momentum and how things can shift. If you're the U.S. and you're doing everything to score, and the goalkeeper standing on her head for Sweden, she's great. And she's number 2 for Chelsea, by the way. Standing on her head, you go into a penalty shootout where you know you have to score, and this player has just been on flames all night.
Yeah.
And you have to go and beat her. It grows and grows. Megan Rapinoe missed. Sophie Smith missed. Like, players that you're thinking 12 yards away, they're putting it in the back of the net. And they missed. And I don't know, I know some American fans will probably be saying they were dancing too early. This is why you don't do this for a knockout game. Pride cometh before the fall. I always say it.
Yeah.
Is this one of those situations? I don't know. How do you feel about that?
I would say that a lot of soccer pundits have been saying for a while that this is actually not the strongest USA team they've seen. You could go back to the past World Cups, and they were very strong teams. So I think a lot of people were kind of calling this, which I had a hard time believing only because you had these young players, like you mentioned Smith and Trini Rodman, and you had these players who seemed to be like next player up and fill the gap and just keep moving on. It's like a factory of really excellent players with USA. But, you know, I think between the young players gaining that experience for the first time, maybe the bright light sometimes, you know, a little too much in how do you overcome certain adversity? Was it also the coach? Was it also tactics? So should certain substitutions have been made earlier? These are the conversations we have every time a team goes out. Were there other distractions, you know? A lot of Americans not very pleased with not singing the national anthem, and they felt maybe there were some other things distracting players off the pitch. To your point, were they a little bit cocky and dancing, knowing that a post is what saved them from being eliminated in the group stage as well? I don't know. There's a lot of things. It's tough. But I will say that a lot of people who have been watching this team for the past 4 years have been saying this is not the strongest team. I think there's going to be a bit of a dip here for the Americans. I think we're just so used to them being on top.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that there were deficiencies within the squad. And I guess they were right. They bowed out early. But now we're looking at the teams that are left. I can't wait to hear what you're going to say. But who would you say is your favorite now?
Well,
the remaining teams.
I think it's a consensus, though. I think we had this on the show where Japan has to be the favorite.
Okay.
But my dark horse, my challenger to that, they have yet to play their round of 16. They're going to take on the Reggae Girls. I'm talking about Colombia. Because I had said Colombia could be my dark horse. As of the taping of this show, they have yet to play their round of 16 game. But how do you not have Japan as your favorite right now?
I think you have to. I think the way that the scoring goes, the way they play football, I think you have to put them up there. Can we talk about Colombia and Reggae Girls for a quick second?
You can't, but I will also say this. England really does seem to be growing into the tournament. You cannot dismiss the European champs. You can't.
I mean,
you can't.
I just don't want Jess Lisi or Riley Foster to be right about England winning the World Cup. I just don't want it. I don't want to hear it. Because, yeah, like maybe there's money down on these games, but hey, we'll just...
Did you put some money?
No, I can't confirm or deny that
but
I am a betting
you gave
man.
me $2.75.
That you didn't take. You left it right here.
Before I left for Vegas. So don't tell me you're putting big money down. Like,
I didn't say big money. I said money.
Did you put $1?
Don't worry about my financial situation. Don't worry about what I'm doing. All I know is that Colombia and Jamaica is such a feel-good story. If there was a team that the Reggae Girls could lose to and I'd be okay with, it would be Colombia. Jamaicans out there, my mother, my 2 grandmothers, don't outcast me for saying that, but I just feel as if Colombia is also a good a feel-good story as well. Casado,
Yeah.
you gotta support the movement with Colombia as well.
Yeah, and I was going to say Casado being a superstar, it is worth noting Australia in their win in the round of 16, Sam Kerr back. A lot of people really excited because this World Cup has been special in many ways. I mean, we already know it's been the first for so many things when it comes to the women's game, but we're also seeing these underdog stories. Nigeria, of course, has now been eliminated, but like Nigeria getting through, Jamaica getting through, Morocco making their World Cup debut, getting through. They're going to take on France. We'll see how it goes after the round of 16. So it's kind of been this underdog story, but also I want to see some superstars rise, right? Like Sam Kerr is a superstar. Casado is really showing her chops. I love this kind of stuff. I want to see some superstars take over. Not that I don't mind the Cinderella stories, but I like them stars.
Yeah, and that's what the World Cup is, right? You see every World Cup on the men's side or women's side, like this just propels your career. This just throws you into a new environment. All eyes are on you. The world really stops with the World Cup. So seeing the stars, seeing Sam Kerr, seeing Australia already really qualify without Sam Kerr playing. I mean, if I'm playing Australia in Australia, I'm pretty frightened.
Let's bring our guest in onto this conversation. That's Tommy Wheeldon Jr., manager of Cavalry FC. Welcome to the show, my friend. I have to ask, who are you rooting for at the Women's World Cup?
Well, I was a dual national. I had 2 horses at the race, and now I've only got 1. So right now it's England.
Why does that not surprise anybody? But you know what? They're strong. They're strong, Tommy. That is a good team to back up. But I don't know if you have a dark horse. Mine's Colombia. I know they have yet to play Jamaica in the round of 16, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Perhaps they'll go through. But I don't know if there's like another team there that you think, okay, maybe Japan. Not that I'm trying to get you to
Jamaica.
Not that I'm trying to sway.
I'm with you, Will. I actually,
of course. Everything about
I like
you, Tommy.
the Jamaica story.
Everything about you.
Jamaica story. They've no excuses. They've just got on with it. They've crowdfunded. They're there and they're saying, right, come on, we'll have a go at anybody. And I just love that spirit. It almost reminds me, I was having this chat with my brother yesterday. I said, it reminds me of, Cameroon in the 1990 World Cup with Roger Miller, where there was just something different about them. So I like it.
I love the story, but also let's just talk about the food real quick. You look like a man that brushes off a jerk chicken, loves oxtail, loves a curry goat. I feel like the way your team's been playing, you've probably been eating that after matches as well, just really rewarding yourself for the way Cavalry's been playing this season.
Listen, the shirts are getting a bit tighter. I do like my food. I'm not going to lie. It's a love language of mine, and me and my wife. We're foodies. But no, I had the family over last night. I had the barbecue out. It was a nice evening. It was nice not to be playing on a weekend, I guess. So rare occasion.
We will be booking the next flight out to Calgary. We expect a barbecue. Here's the thing, though, Tommy. We know that in sports, and I get it, especially as a journalist, whenever I'm on TV and I talk about teams, they always say, Andy, the season's long. Yeah, I get it. But we love talking about the good and the bad. And do you remember when you started the season? Often you needed like 6 games into the season to get your first win. Does that feel like forever ago? And can you just take us through how you were feeling to start the year? And it was just draw after draw. So, I mean, you were getting points. It's not like they were losses, but did it feel like a win was never going to come?
I'll be honest with you. It felt like crap. It's it's a rare industry that how you do your job is based on the result you have on the weekend. So you can be working all preseason. You can have 12 weeks of preseason, 8 weeks, whatever your schedule is on your periodized plan. Then you go into the season. You do the week before. This is how they'll play. This is what we do in this moment. This is how we can catch them. So you work on all these things and you draw. Okay, we didn't lose, no problem. And then it happens again. And then it happens again. And honestly, it was literally like Groundhog Day. And the best thing we did was actually go through that, to be honest, because we're trying a few new things this year. And I think, Wilsh, you and I have had these chats because, we've been so close, but the game's evolving. Every 4 years in a World Cup cycle, I think the game steps forward. And we've got to be ones that aren't the same every single year when teams face us and aren't the same every single game. So we have to be a team that's willing to evolve. And you see that with the young and the depth we're creating. So to be where we are now after 18 games with 10 seasons to go, to be in the conversation, well, these guys could win the league. That's where we wanted to be. It just took us a little bit of time to trust the process.
So I love footy, Tommy, and I always want to talk about it. But quickly, just talk about that process, the growing pains that came with it, the learning curve. Because Cavalry that I played against for 2 years, it's just like a hard-nosed team. Of course, there's talent, and you guys are combined some of the time. But I think now you're seeing a bit of both. Yeah, you can be like tough as nails, but you guys are just playing football. You're methodical, you're patient with it. Just talk to us a bit about that process and how that came about. And also just sticking to your guns. I'll give you your flowers because that was commendable. During a tough time, it's easy to revert back to how you've had success before, but to stick with it. Not that my claps matter, but I'm going to give you 3 claps right there because that was impressive. But just talk about that switch, balancing it out now.
Yeah, like I said, I think the game's evolving. So as a manager and a coaching staff, unfortunately, I've got, Leon Apgood and Nick Ledgewood around me. We just hired a new goalie coach, and we've got some good voices around us. And we did a massive, audit at the end of the season where we were close. And, we've not necessarily had the best of luck in the playoffs. And it could be a bit luck. Sometimes you need a bit of magic. Sometimes there's a mistake. And for us, there seems to be some bad calls that, have cost us trophies. So we're like, right, there's 2 trophies on the line now. So if you're the best team over the course of 28 games, you're off to CONCACAF, and deservedly so. We've done that before. But if we want to be the best in the playoffs, we're going to have to face different things. We were noticing that when teams were coming to ATCO Field, they were developing a low block and counter. And, so we had to be patient to provoke presses. We had to, have more of a methodical build out to invite pressure. And if they did break the press, then we had talent going forward with Camargo, with Musi, with Akio, with Bevan. We're seeing Gauthier Natigny having a breakout season. But yeah, so we went through it. But you are tested when you don't get the wins early. So if you start off winning, you're like, right, it works. But your true DNA comes out when things don't go your way. And I think with that, we're fortunate, like I said, to have had a good leadership group. So you talk to your Marcos, your Sergios, your Charlie Traffords and Dan Klomps, and you're like, right, this is what we said we'd do at the start of the season. We're not getting the results, but the performances are there. Here's the data that supports it. What do you think? Do you want to go back and be a little bit more direct, be a bit more transitional? This league is very transitional. Or do you want to lean into this? And without even finishing my sentence, both my coaching staff in that conversation and our leadership group said, no, let's lean into it. Let's be different. And that's what you're seeing right now.
How much of that difference is to tackle what's happened in the playoffs? Because that's been the story for Cavalry, these perennial contenders, looking red hot in the regular season. And then, as you mentioned, you can point to various factors of things not going your way in the playoffs. How much of this is to prepare for playoff footy?
Yeah, and it is. I mean, playoffs are a cup competition. They're so exciting. They're great to be a part of. I like it, but I always see it like a cup competition. So it's great for the fans, exciting for the players, great for media because there's stories to be told. You can have the Cinderella run, or you can have, the David versus Goliath. There's so many narratives to write. But I've always been a believer that the best team over 28 games that can go to coast, pick up points here, there, and everywhere at home is the best team. And the fact that the league has gone one step and says, you know what, we've got 2 CONCACAF spots here, let's do that. So yeah, part of it is we have to audit, can we be good in one-off games? And to be good in one-off games, you need to create magic, you need to be brave. You can't just be, defend and hope for a set play or hope for a transition. Why not be the protagonist versus the antagonist? And I thought that suited our DNA a little bit more, to be honest, Andy. And again, that's what we're trying to do this season.
Tommy, let's talk quickly about recruitment, because for me, it was a brief 2 years playing in the league, but I am convinced that it's all about the depth of your squad. It's not about your top 12, 13 players. It's about having 22 bought in, but also 22 players that you can use at different times and different positions. You've done something interesting that I feel a lot of managers should do in the CPL in terms of hire players that have played for you, that understand the process. With Tofa Fankunle, with Oliver Minitel coming back as well, are part of your staff in your recruitment process. I feel like they had a hand in Gauthier and Tigny as well, and Cobbs are coming into your squad. Just talk to us a bit about that, having players working for you that know your mindset and know what you like.
Yeah, exactly. I think what you're seeing is a strategy. of course, we want to be a winning club. You want to put some silverware in there, but that's only a part of it. I think winning behaviors are in several ways. I think it's the number of bums and seats you're starting to get week in, week out. Your profit and loss column that, is important to ownership group, to, bringing through young Canadian players and selling them on, to taking players that have played for you in different elements that you can bring into your culture. We're a new league with some old ideas in there. And what I mean by that is Topher Fakunli's been great. He was one that was kind of there or thereabouts in the first year or so to play. Signed a pro, got his minutes, but I felt his impact in the league and in the professional game was going to be right behind the desk because he's got a brilliant mind. He knows the U Sport system, so he's been pivotal for me to lean on. Oliver Minatel, you played with him, you know him. He's a first-class individual, one of the best human beings I've got to work with. So when there was an opportunity, he was going to hang his boots up. I thought he's going to be great. Speaks 4 languages that I know of. So when it comes down to the international recruitment and how international players are able to make that leap, and you've played with them, you've played abroad. It's hard for international players to settle in. He's great at that. From Nick Ledgerwood, who was, someone I started his playing career, him and I played together, to he finished. And now he's an assistant coach of ours. Even my brother now, he takes care of our U21 pathway, which you're seeing some young players like young Michael Harms come through that, get to play for him. And Mason Trafford now is, working in the front office, doing the commercial director, dealing with partners. So we all speak the same language, but we've all got different skill sets. So it's almost like a Swiss Army knife of talent, but great human beings and brilliant minds.
Well, before we let you go, I do want to talk about a player on the pitch, and that's Gauthier Antigny. What do you think his ceiling is?
Yeah, I don't think he has one, Andy. He's honestly, you think of, you look at the jump someone like a Tajon Buchanan's done, came out of college and went into the MLS, had a couple of really good seasons, then went into Europe, still kept playing well, and everyone's like, oof, and you see that with Alphonso Davies and Jonathan David. For me, I don't want to put him in that bracket because I don't want to put the pressure on him. He's just enjoying his football, but he's the fastest thing I've worked with. We did the speed test on him, and I think that's where the comment came up. He's got Alphonso Davies' speed. He does, and I think now the league have taken note and gone, oof. If they want to pressure him, he's built like a brick. If they want to go and back off him, he's got little moves to cut inside. And I've actually encouraged him now to be a bit more selfish because in training he scores these absolute bangers with his shot. So he's so humble as well. And I think that's what makes it great to work with. And it carries on that pattern of, Victor Latouri's and Arabin Peppers, Joel Waterman's, all these guys that have come here, they're hungry, and there's no ceiling to them, to be honest.
Well, he's a joy to watch, and it's always great having you on, Tommy. Good luck the rest of the way. We'll be watching.
Appreciate it, Tommy.
Appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Love having Tommy on. What a season they're having. But, at least for me, how are the playoffs going to play out? That's what I'm always curious about with Cavalry now.
And it's pressure time.
Yeah.
These last 10 matches, I'm just rounding off for all the teams, but around 10 matches, pressure time, right? You got to peak at the right time in the CPL. Cavalry right now look like they could do it, but they just got to go and show it.
It's going to be a tough final 10 games or so for York United, who's in a dogfight right now to make the playoffs. So this just being released as we were getting ready for the show. They're going to be without Osaze De Rosario for a month. They released that he has tested positive for a banned substance, which is weed. So here's the actual release. It says De Rosario inadvertently ingested THC, component of cannabis. It is a legal substance in Canada. A few days before an in-competition urine test on October 1st of 2022. THC is included on the World Anti-Doping Agency list of prohibited substances. It's prohibited in competition. That is on match days, not out of competition. Now, as a member of Canada Soccer, the national governing body for the sport in Canada, York players are required to comply with Canadian anti-doping program, which is independently administered by the Canadian Centre for Ethics in Sport. So he came out and said that last September, I unknowingly consumed THC after eating an unlabeled dessert at a dinner gathering I attended days before a match. First things first, as somebody who played in the CPL, what is this process like?
So I think every season that you start in the CPL, you have to do this test or this course. It's maybe an hour. I was failing mine, so it was about 2 hours. And
How are you failing?
Shout out to Wifey. Wifey did mine for me. Now's the time to be truthful. Now that I've retired, no one can hurt me. I feel untouchable. This is what you say right before you get fired, right? Knock on wood.
Your boss is like, yeah, be truthful. We got your back.
Like, yeah. And then I'm literally sleeping in Andy's basement, like asking, like, I have no house. When I did my test, I didn't even do it. I literally was like, it was a couple of days before training. We had games. I had to get it done. I said, babes, please, like, I'll watch.
But what is it? It's like, is this banned? Is that not
Basically,
banned? Like, is that type multiple choice?
This is a substance you can have. This is not a substance you can have. This is how your testing is gonna go. If you do get tested, you have a chaperone that's with you. You have to put urine in the cup. You have to fill it up this many milliliters, all that stuff. I was tested 5 times in 2 years. I was randomly tested. Some players would be once every 2 years. That process is just like, it's annoying when you're playing a hot game and you're dehydrated.
Oh yeah, you can't go. And they're watching you, they're staring at you.
As soon as someone comes and says Jordan Wilson, I'm just downing like Gatorade water because I know, I'm a vet. I know that I gotta put that urine in the cup and I can't fall short. So with D-Row, it's just an unfortunate thing. Also because it's legal in Canada now. So it's just like, you gotta alter the rules. If it said in the press release from Angus McNabb, if De Rosario was a Toronto Raptor, a Maple Leaf or a Blue Jay, this wouldn't even be a topic of discussion.
Those leagues, they have not made it
Now he's missing a
illegal.
month.
NFL has lessened their rules on that as well, because we know that the bans used to be pretty substantial as well in the NFL, but they've kind of loosen the reins a bit on that. And yeah, I guess it's tough because you are in a country where it is legal. You also are at a point in the evolution of understanding what also helps with a lot of pain and stress and anxiety for athletes who want to go a little bit more of a natural route. Now, he says he ingested it unknowingly, which
could happen.
I know a lot of people laugh at that. I may have been a victim of that one time.
Story time.
We can share that story or not. Here's the thing that kind of irks me a little bit with this, because they are now heading down to the final third of their season. They're in a dogfight to make the playoffs. And I know he's been having a tough season. It's not like he's been banging in a bunch of goals and they're going to lose his top goal scorers.
12 last season and 3 this season.
Yeah, so he's struggling a little bit. But either way, you'd rather have him available than not available, because now he's done for a month. He tested positive back in October of last year. We are almost a year. What took so long for the CCES to come down with this verdict? If I'm the Canadian Premier League, I'm looking into this.
It's ludicrous.
I'm looking into this saying, why did this take so long? Why did this not come down earlier? Why could this not have happened at the beginning of the season? We are now in the final 10 games of the year. It's highly competitive. This is probably the best we've ever seen as far as competition and a fight for a playoff spot in the CPL. And now you're telling one team they're going to be without a pretty significant player. I don't like that at all. I'm wondering why it took so long.
Fugazi, there's a lot. It's very questionable. We gotta want to look into that for sure. With D-Row, the situation as well, he's banned for a month. Training is the biggest part for me. Like, okay, he can't play matches. Let's say that's a ban, but he can't even show up to training. So what you're basically saying, essentially saying he's going to miss 4 games for York United and maybe make a push for those last 4 or 5 games and then playoffs. But like, he won't even be sharp. You're not even giving him a chance to really succeed. Maybe he's going to go run and keep fit on your own, but you need to be playing games and striking, if you're a striker, to have a good shot going into the playoffs. So they really put him behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I think it's a little unfortunate. I think they need to reassess.
I do think they need to reassess the rules, but I will say going into this, that the small part of me, which I'd probably say to him in the locker room as well, is that in season, in that time, you know what it is. Like, you have to be that precise. Again, accidents could happen. You could have a little brownie at a party. It could happen. But I'm also saying that's your time to be your best self and be a model student. It's just so unfortunate.
It happened. Long story short.
Oh, love it. Story time, come.
I was at a New Year's Eve, this is years ago, I was in my 20s. I was at a New Year's Eve house party. I love chocolate chip cookies. There were some chocolate chip cookies. I may have had 2. I didn't know what they were.
How many chocolate chip cookies did you have?
2.
Okay.
And then I found out what they were afterwards, and yeah, like at that point it was too late. I was happy though. Like I was. So like, it was a happy night.
See, I wish that.
But it was an accident.
No, hey, I'm not pointing a finger. I just want to know. I wish I was a fly on the wall at that party, because when you say it was a happy night and your hand went like this, I'm like, were you prancing?
Well, no,
what was going on?
I wasn't paranoid, because sometimes there can be like a bad, like there was a gentleman there who maybe had some facial piercings that totally amused her. I was like, wow, look at your face. And the house had shag carpeting on the wall, and they had cats. The cats were running on the wall. That actually happened. And now imagine having 2 cookies by accident and cats are running on the wall. It was a trippy night. It was the best night, but it was a night that happened by accident. I'm just saying, it can happen by accident, Jordan. Either way, on a serious note, I feel bad for York United. I feel bad for Osaze.
Not the news you want to hear right now.
No, really not. But you know the news I love? That we are back here on One Nation. That's Jordan Wilson. I'm Manny Petrillo. Thanks for tuning in. Always double check your chocolate chip cookies.